Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us this morning. My name is Debbie Faulkner. I'm the managing partner of Burke Faulkner Law, and we have underwritten a program with the Gulf Coast Estate Planning Council, of which I founded with my friend and a colleague, Brandon Scheffler. Our goal is to produce and provide informational seminars about important topics like leaving a legacy, estate planning, financial planning, and really coordinating everything that you need to coordinate to leave your legacy behind to your family. So this morning we have a special guest, and we are going over what we call the family love letter. So family love letter, this is what it looks like, is a way to kind of either begin your planning or continue your planning, depending on what you have done with your estate documents so far. So at Burke Faulkner Law, as many of you already know, we do estate planning and business planning. A lot of clients over the 11 years I've been a lawyer come in to do their estate plan, and they say, okay, I know I need a will. I know I need something for my family. And that's kind of where the thinking has ended. So clients are asking me questions like, well, what do other people do? How am I supposed to plan for my kids? What do I need to be thinking about? And that's what this family love letter is all about. It's about making those, like having those conversations, having those dialogues, kind of thinking through things before you come to get your estate plan. Or if you've already done your estate planning, it's about sort of creating a non-financial inheritance for your family. And Glenn's going to talk a little bit more about that. But it's things like, what do you want to leave behind in terms of your legacy, your value system, how do you want to be buried, things of that nature, very detailed information about the next stage of your planning. So whether you have already done your plan and you want to, continue on that planning, or whether you're preparing to make your estate plan, this is a very, very helpful way to do it through the family love letter, because we really walk you through all of the basics of what you want to leave behind your family. Glenn Fasani is our special guest this morning, and Glenn Fasani is a fee-based planner in the area that has been doing financial fee-based planning for over 25 years in the Tampa Bay area. And he donates his time to the Gulf Coast Estate Planning Council. And he's going to come up and talk a little bit more about what the family love letter process looks like and how it can help you really create the best estate plan that you can come up with, and also just a legacy in general for your family. If you guys don't mind, while we are beginning, I'd like for you to try to subscribe to our channel. You'll get notifications about all of our upcoming seminars, both at Burke Faulkner Law and through the Gulf Coast Council. And with that, no further ado, here is Glenn Fasani. Come on up, Glenn.
Thank you. Thank you. Well, good morning. And I must say, I've been messing around with this thing called the family love letter and what I call the planning aspect of estate planning since 2006. And so what's interesting to me is I've never done one this way. So normally it's done in a format where we do workshops. Let me take you through the way in which this works the best. And again, this is coming from a lot of years of working with the family love letter concept. So let me give you some definites in this world. When I first started working with this, we just gave this booklet to people and we said, hey, fill it out and you're good to go. And then go meet with your estate planning attorney. I will tell you almost 100% of the time that never happened. And so we were frustrated with that. And we said, well, why do we have this great document that can help people deal with a lot of different aspects of it and look at it? Why don't they do it? And it comes down to 1,000 different reasons. Let me tell you where the Gulf Coast Estate Planning Council is coming from and what their mission is. It's really simple. Statistics put an average of 70% of people do not have proper legal documents. So having said that, it's a huge issue because what we deal with as professionals is the aftermath of not planning. And so let me just take you through what I'd like you to think about this morning when it comes to the process of what we call the family love letter. This is focused on the why, not the what. So these are the conversations that we're going to have about the non-financial aspect of your estate plan and what you want to happen. God forbid you become incapacitated. And unfortunately, I always say that you don't get out of this world alive. So you're going to pass away one day. So with this pandemic and what's going on right now, I think some people are asking themselves, hey, man, what do I need to do? Yeah, I need to make sure I have toilet paper and I make sure I have paper towels, but maybe I should think about some other things as well. Interesting that I think on the other side, time is always of the essence. So the biggest drawback that I've seen people not doing this is it's a task, and it's a pretty involved task if you really take it serious. And so now if a lot of people are stuck at home, this might be a better way of getting some more people to actually sit down and decide to do it. So the why. I'm going to start off at 10:35 in the morning with a pretty morbid question, but I think it does help invoke some real interesting conversations. Let's pretend you passed away today, and let's pretend you're not here. What about if you were given the opportunity to write a letter to your loved ones, to your business partners, to anybody? What would you say in that letter? What would you say? You know what? I really didn't expect to go this morning, and I really wanted you to know this. Those things are probably not going to be about an IRA, and they're not going to be about some financial thing that you worried about, a CD that's coming due. It's going to be, hey, I really wanted my kids to know more about my heritage and where I came from. It's going to be, you know what? This is what this family really believes in. I know by the way, I really wished that I told my kids that I get involved in several different charities, and I'm really very concerned about certain projects that I've been working on, whether it be through church or through the community. Those would probably be the things that I think you put in that letter. They wouldn't be just, hey, I forgot to tell you that there's a CD at XYZ Bank. I think we have a question, and unfortunately, let's see, where's the question?
Question says, so this is not to replace my will, this is in addition to my will?
That is an unbelievable question, and let me take it from two different aspects. So, because I can't see everybody and I can't raise your hand and I can't get that information, let's talk about this. Either I'm talking to people who have their estate planning documents done, and we'll address that, or they don't. So let's go to that question directly. No, this does not replace any legal document. This is the non-financial, non-legal aspect of your world. So let me give you some examples that I can think of. And this is my favorite one because I'm sure a lot of you have pets. And if you have beloved pets, I have one that's new to our family and one that's older to our family. But anyway, so Rudy was a dog who I have loved for 13 or 14 years now. And if anything should happen to me, what would happen to Rudy? We have a new addition to the family. His name is Oliver. He came from the streets and was actually fostered first. But if I want to think about something that didn't get covered in my legal documents, it would be who gets Rudy, who gets Oliver? Am I going to leave money to whoever? Is this going to, what is the story I want and what do I want people to understand? I don't care how much money it takes. If the dog gets sick, take him to the vet. Oh, by the way, this is the vet that you have to go to because this is the only vet that I like. Can you see how these type of information is not usually documented in a legal document called a will or a trust or anything like that? So this would be an inventory and a litany of really well thought out, defined things that you want your loved ones to know. Again, sorry to try to be morbid, but I can tell a story of a client of mine who filled this out, who, oh my gosh, it was forever. So I'm Italian, right? So good friend of mine who's Italian, mom's older, dad passed away. Old Italians don't tell anybody where their money is, right? You have to understand that, right? So this woman inherited from, God bless them, great family over the years, tons of property, tons of rental properties, tons of things going on in their life, owned many assets. I grew up mostly in Tampa, so they're a Tampa family. So long story short, we finally got mom to fill this out. And so mom fills it out, and the aspect of what we're going to talk about and give you this real life story is surrounding the funeral. So what we asked is in the pages of the family love letter, it says, hey, do you want to be cremated? Where do you want to be buried? Who are the pallbearers? Who do you want to speak? Where do you want the church service at? All that is spelled out. So I go, like us Italians have to mourn forever. So I go to the wake and I come in the back of the chapel and the family's up front, and there's a line halfway around the building because old-fashioned Italian families have 1,000 people. And so you come in the back, and this is before the service had started. And so the daughter caught my eye, saw me, got out of line, walked up the middle aisle of the chapel, and coming like upset, very much like emotional, and comes up to me and hugs me and kisses me and says, I have to tell you something, that the family love letter basically took a huge stress-filled, argumentative type of conversation with me and my brother and wiped it out in 5 seconds. I said, well, tell me. My brother said, mom wants the funeral home to be X. I'll call, I know, blah, blah, blah. I'll get everything set up. I said, that's not what mom wants. And of course, my brother said, how do you know? And so I went and got the family love letter. And in my mom's writing was, I want this funeral home. This is what I want. This is where I want to have my services at. Think about, there was no more conversation after that. The son, the brother, saw mom's handwriting on a page of a document that she signed saying, this is where I want my funeral to be, and this is what I want to have happen. End of conversation. And again, being Italian and emotional, this woman said, hey, I can't tell you what that was worth to not have to have 2 things, and know that my mom's wishes were carried out, and number 2, to make sure that this wasn't an argument between my brother and myself. So if I can give that as an example, and again, what we're doing these at half-hour increments. I'm going to give you a homework assignment, and if you are really serious about doing this, again, I just saying this because I know what this book is about. By the way, for you more tech-savvy people, we actually have a digital key. Again, the only way in which we can communicate with you, know who you are, and if you want this and get started, we need you to subscribe. So what that's going to allow us to do is communicate you via email and to say, hey, this is what we're doing. Right now, we have to do it in a webinar type of situation. Once we can get and hang out with people together, I'd love to see your face. There is a question on the screen, and
It says, does Burke Faulkner Law provide a form with all these questions to help formulate this?
Right. So here's what's going to happen. That's a great question. So here's how we're going to do this. And thank you. I couldn't have asked for that question. It's exactly where we're at. So there is an organizational part of this, and that's what we're going to start with. So how do we get to the finished product? The finished product being either digital form or the book and filled out. And of course, the book filled out needs to be, people need to understand where it is. This is the organizational part of it. So what we're going to do is give you a homework assignment. And the homework assignment is basically, these are all the things we need from a specific document perspective. And we'll send that email to you if you do your homework, which we hope you do. That will give us the ability to start the process. And also we'll ask you several of the most important questions. We've got about 15 minutes left. And I'm going to have Debbie come up and talk a little bit now, just a minute, and also come back and talk a little bit about some other things. So Debbie.
Thanks, Glenn. So the question about providing a form for Burke Faulkner Law, what this family love letter does is supplements what we do at Burke Faulkner Law. So like Glenn was saying, estate planning encompasses legal documents. It encompasses your advance directives. It encompasses a will, a trust, things like that. What this process allows you to do is to supplement your estate plan or plan for your estate plan by saying things like, hey, family, here's my favorite scripture. Here was my favorite psalm. Here is my favorite poem. Here's how I want you to, what my favorite memory of myself is. Here is the most proud accomplishment I've ever had. Those are the types of questions that we ask in the family love letter that are not really in your legal documents, but that your family would really cherish if they were able to have those in a document form from you. It allows you to write a letter to your family, really telling them all of these important things about yourself that they may not know. We go over family history. What do you want your family to know about your medical history, for example, or just your history in general? What was your favorite childhood memory? These are the types of questions that as a lawyer at Burke Faulkner Law, we're not going to ask you those things because they're proper places, not in your will or your trust. But these are important conversations to have as you think about your own mortality. You think about the legacy you want to leave for your family. These are things that really are supplemental to doing your estate plan in general. Now, while you all are on there, I'd like for you guys to please subscribe to our YouTube channel so you can get updates from us, and future seminars will be up here, webinars, since we're all in social distancing mode right now. And we will resume live seminars as soon as we are able to do that. There is a question on the screen. I have a lot of important things online, like online photo albums. Does the family love letter discuss digital property? Great question. Absolutely. So one of the aspects of doing the family love letter is to list out your digital assets. And your digital assets, it has a whole section. I don't know if you guys can actually see this, but it goes over things like what are the websites and account information that you have? What's your user ID and your password for these things? Obviously, if you fill all this out, you need to leave this document in a very safe place, just as you would your final documents, your will or your trust or your power of attorney. It asks you things like about your pets, like Glenn said. It's really a comprehensive way of not only writing your family the things that you want them to remember about you and what you want to leave behind in terms of advice, but it also goes through, there's many other sections in this that really end up creating like an inventory of your life. And that's the aspect of at the law firm when we're preparing legal documents. If we're going to fund a trust, we go through your financial property. We cover digital assets in the documents, but we don't keep an inventory of what your passwords are and your websites are and things like that. So this really creates a roadmap of where everything is located so that in that critical time of need, when you are faced with a death in your family and you are obviously grieving and not in this right state of mind, you have two places to go, to your lawyer's office and to the family love letter. And that's really what it's designed to do. So I just want to recap kind of what we've been talking about here. Guys, we are talking about creating a family love letter. So just in a brief summary, the love letter covers both what you want to leave behind to your family in terms of like a legacy. It covers non-financial inheritance issues, like what you want to pass on in terms of life lessons, family history, what your favorite memories about your life were, maybe what you kind of want to include in your eulogy. You could be as specific as that. You can create an ethical will and set forth your family values. But what it also does is it has you thinking about these questions before you have an estate plan, if you don't have one already. It might prompt you to redo or amend your estate plan, or it just can supplement that and provide very critical information to your family when they need it the most. And so that's really what our mission is. We know that about 70% of Americans do not have their legal documents in place to pass on their property. And more importantly, when clients do come into the office to do their will or trust, a lot of important things haven't been talked about. So one of the things that happens often, people come in, they say, I need a will. I know I've been putting this off for a long time. I need a will or a trust or some way to prepare to take care of my family. But they don't know what to put in there. So one of the things that, this conversation and dialogue starts is, well, do you want to leave money for all of your kids right away? Do you want to leave it over the course of time? What do you want that to look like? If you were to die tomorrow, what would you want to happen to your children? This is a very, very important question that a lot of times people look to me as their lawyer and say, okay, I don't really know what I want for my kids. What do other people do? My answer is routinely, this is your will, this is your trust, it's your family. And each family has its own unique challenges and things to overcome and things to plan for. So, most of my clients, if they have minor children, do not want their minor children to have money right away. But the question then becomes, how do we plan for them? What do we do for them? And what can we do in our legal documents? And that is when you especially have minor children, that's also something that, writing out the full family love letter and being able to write to them what you want to teach them, what you want them to know. These are really, really wonderful things to add to a plan. We have a question on the screen. Will Burke Faulkner Law be producing more webinars, especially one that would help me prepare for an estate planning meeting? Oh, great question. Absolutely. So this is our first of many webinars that we're going to be doing while we are in social distancing mode, and hopefully thereafter we'll be able to supplement our live seminars with webinars as well. So we intend for the Family Love Letter to be a course of several different seminars. So I'm going to have Glenn come back up and talk a little bit more about what we're planning to do from here on out with the Family Love Letter. Come on, Glenn.
Thank you. So, so how do we get it done, and how do we help you do that? Again, I've been working with this and doing this since 2006, and Donna Pagano and Jeff Scroggins, who developed it, we've looked at many, many different ways of doing this, and I'll tell you the most efficient way of doing it. So let's talk about financial planning. Let's talk about estate planning. Again, here's what we see. Again, the Family Love Letter is two things. Meet with people to help you put your thoughts together, then meet with your estate planning attorney. Why is that more efficient? Any fees that we would charge for a couple of hours of consultation to help you think and work through all of the what ifs is a lot cheaper than the hourly rate for any estate planning attorney that I've ever worked with. Okay. So again, just like financial planning, clients come to me and say they have a financial plan, and they hand me a statement from Fidelity. And I go, that's not a financial plan. That's a financial instrument. Congratulations. But that is not a financial plan. So just like an estate planning, we need to do the planning first, the planning or the thinking through so many aspects of this very critical aspect of what you're trying to do. And let's really spend time making those conversations real and document them. Like Debbie was saying, one of the biggest issues we have are clients and their kids. All right. We all love our kids the same, but we all know they're not the same. And the other thing I'd like to talk to you about is what I call creditors and predators. So almost every person that I've spoken to about what they'd like to happen when they pass away is, I want this money to be kept in the family and not to my sister-in-law, brother-in-law, grandkids, whatever. I want this to stay in the family. And so you have a conversation about what exactly you want. Now, like Debbie said, Debbie will document any good estate planning talk, will document and make sure that whatever you want is legally in the law. But what do you want to have happen? And many times the things that people come up with, frankly, are not well thought out. And so the planning aspect is what we focus on first. So we're going to try to do something. I've already given you a homework assignment, every one of you. What is that? The homework assignment is to think to yourself, what do I have? I love this analogy. It's one that I use many times. We have a hurricane coming. Let's pretend you got 3 days to make sure all the stuff that you need to reassemble your life after the hurricane needs to be put in one place so that we can review it and talk about it from the estate planning perspective. Does that make sense? Think about it. You're going to run and go grab the photo albums. I know you are. The hurricane's coming. It's a big one. I'm going to grab the photo albums. I'm going to grab, the life insurance policies. I'm going to grab this. I'm going to grab that. I want you to think of this homework assignment as that. Once we do that, we only have 5 minutes left, but once we do that, you register, tell us you want to get through this process. We promise you we will make that happen for you. Then we can talk one-on-one, a course, we can't do it in a group setting, sorry. We can talk one-on-one through email, through a phone conversation about what's the best way to get that done. Again, please give us your email, address, phone number. Those are probably the best two to get started. I like this time. I think this time of people being home, this is something, like cleaning out the garage. I hate to do it. I never did want to do it, but I guess I got to get started. And once you start cleaning the garage, there's a point where you stop complaining about it and you go, yeah, okay. I can see some progress. I'm getting there. I would like you to think of it that same way. So that's where I think we want to get Debbie to come in and just finish up about some of the things that I want you to think about most common mistakes we see associated with people coming and saying, yeah, I want to draft some documents. My favorite one that I think you really need to think about is I want to make one of my kids the trustee of the trust over the other children. So Debbie, talk about that one and a few other ones I can think of, maybe the whole idea of husbands and wives of kids and all that kind of stuff.
Right. So when we do estate planning, some of the things that we see when clients do come in and haven't really thought through everything before is, well, I want to have my plan. Everything goes to my spouse, then my children, and I want my son Johnny to be in charge of everything because he's very responsible. Guys, if you've learned anything in this webinar, I hope it has made you think about your own mortality and how your family would feel in that situation. Something I routinely recommend clients think about is to have someone outside of the family in charge of these logistical items, which is really what your will and your trust do is move property. It's a very legal and financial thing. It's really something that's very difficult to deal with when you're already grieving the loss of a family member. So that's something I definitely see in estate planning documents, and something that this process, the family law letter process, will definitely have you thinking about. One of the things I want to say too is just as we wrap up here is, guys, we are stuck at home. We're technically in my office, but we are practicing social distancing. We are at our houses. We are stuck with our kids. We are stuck with our spouses, whether you like it or not. Guys, this is a perfect time to gather this information together. Go online, gather all of your account information, take an inventory of your assets, gather things together, and then we can package it and create a legacy plan that's really more comprehensive, that you've actually thought through step by step by step. I mean, we can utilize this time to clean out the closets, but we also can utilize this time to really think about what we would want to leave behind. After all, unfortunately, our fellow Americans are passing away from this virus, but all of us will pass away at some point, guys. And that's what we are here to try to make you think about. Even though it's not a pleasant topic, it's a very important one. I have clients come in here when they've lost somebody in tears, crying, and the last thing they want to do is to try to locate mom and dad's bank accounts everywhere they're located in the world and try to piece together what they have and what they don't have and what they wanted. It's not the time for that. Now is the time when you're healthy, you're at home anyway. It's time to get this stuff done. So we just want to invite you to please subscribe to our channel. You can email me or ask me questions, Debbie@BurkeFaulknerLaw.com. That's BurkeFaulknerLaw.com, Debbie@BurkeFaulknerLaw.com, or you can call the Gulf Coast Estate Planning Council at 727-200-6009. Thank you, everybody, for joining us today. Please give us some feedback on our seminar and let us know other topics you'd like us to cover in the future. We're planning to do probably 2 to 3 seminars a week during this pandemic shutdown. So tell us what you want to hear and we'll help guide you from there. Thanks so much for joining us, everybody. Have a great day.
And we're clear.